The Grand Pavilion Ballroom was decorated like something out of a fairy tale. White roses cascaded down marble columns, crystal chandeliers cast soft light over 200 guests, and a live orchestra played gentle music as people found their seats. My son Marcus's wedding was everything his fiancée, Natalie, had dreamed of: expensive, elegant, and excessive. I sat alone in the third row, wearing a simple navy dress I'd owned for 5 years. Nothing designer. Nothing flashy. Just comfortable and appropriate. Around me, guests dripped with jewelry and designer labels, their conversations peppered with mentions of vacation homes and investment portfolios. My late husband, Robert, would have hated all this ostentation. But Robert had been gone for 3 years now, and our son had changed quite a bit since then. "Is this seat taken?" A woman in her 60s, wearing a purple dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, gestured to the empty seat beside me. "It's all yours," I replied with a warm smile. She settled in, eyeing my simple dress with barely concealed disdain. "I'm Natalie's aunt, Patricia. And you are?" "Eleanor, Marcus's mother." Her eyebrows shot up. "Oh, I thought Marcus's mother would be... Well, I expected someone more." She trailed off, but her meaning was clear. "More what?" I asked pleasantly. "Never mind." She turned away, pulling out her phone. I'd grown used to reactions like this over the past year. Ever since Marcus had gotten engaged to Natalie Whitmore, daughter of the Whitmore Hotel dynasty, I'd been treated like an embarrassment. My modest lifestyle, my refusal to wear designer clothes, my old Toyota Camry, everything about me seemed to offend Marcus's new social circle. The truth was, I could have afforded everything they flaunted. I could have outspent every person in this room without blinking. But Robert and I had built our wealth quietly, living well below our means, investing wisely, and never feeling the need to prove anything to anyone. The music changed, and the officiant took his place at the altar. Marcus walked out with his best man, looking handsome in his custom tuxedo. He scanned the crowd, his eyes passing right over me without acknowledgement. That stung more than I wanted to admit. Then came the bridesmaids in their champagne-colored gowns, each one carrying bouquets that probably cost $500 apiece. Finally, the orchestra swelled into the wedding march, and everyone stood. Natalie appeared at the back of the ballroom, and I had to admit she looked stunning. Her dress was a masterpiece of silk and lace, her veil trailing 15 feet behind her. Her father, Gregory Whitmore, escorted her down the aisle with obvious pride. As she passed my row, her eyes landed on me for just a second. Her perfect smile faltered, her nose wrinkling slightly as if she'd smelled something unpleasant. Then she recovered and continued forward. The ceremony began. The officiant spoke about love, commitment, and family. I watched my son's face as he gazed at Natalie, wondering if he truly loved her, or if he'd fallen in love with what she represented: wealth, status, acceptance into a world he always wanted to be part of. "If anyone has any objections to this union," the officiant announced, "speak now or forever hold your peace." Silence filled the ballroom. I remained quiet, my hands folded in my lap. Then, by the power vested in me... "Wait." Natalie's voice cut through the air. She turned to face the crowd, still holding Marcus's hands. "Before we continue, there's something I need to address." Marcus looked confused. "Natalie, what are you?" "This is our day," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the ballroom. "A day about us and our future together. And I will not have it tainted by people who don't belong here." A murmur rippled through the guests. I felt a cold sensation in my stomach. Natalie's eyes locked onto mine. "Eleanor, Marcus's mother. I'm sorry, but I cannot have you at our wedding." The ballroom erupted in gasps and whispered conversations. Marcus's face went pale. "Natalie, what are you talking about? Look at her, Marcus." Natalie gestured toward me with her bouquet. Look at what she's wearing. Look at how she presents herself. This is our wedding, the social event of the season. Everyone who matters is here, and your mother shows up looking like she shops at a thrift store. My face burned, but I kept my expression neutral. She's embarrassed you for the last time, Natalie continued, her voice rising. She's embarrassed me for the last time. I tried to be nice. I tried to include her. I even offered to take her shopping, to help her find something appropriate. But she refused. She insisted on making a statement, on showing everyone that she doesn't respect us or our world. Natalie, please, Marcus started. No, Marcus. This is non-negotiable. I will not start our marriage with this shadow hanging over us. She turned to face the crowd again, raising her voice. Security. 2 security guards who'd been stationed near the exits started moving toward my row. I stood up slowly, calmly, gathering my small purse. Around me, guests were whispering furiously, some looking shocked, others looking satisfied, as if they'd known all along that I didn't belong. Secure IT. Natalie called out again, more forcefully. I held up one hand. No need, I said quietly, but somehow my voice carried through the ballroom. I can see myself out. Marcus stepped down from the altar. Mom, wait. It's fine, Marcus. I looked at my son, really looked at him, and felt a profound sadness. Enjoy your day. This is ridiculous, Marcus said, but he made no move to stop the security guards who were now flanking me. He made no move to defend me. He just stood there, torn between his mother and his bride. I walked down the aisle with my head high, aware of every eye on me. The whispers followed me like a wave. Can you believe? Absolutely mortifying. What kind of mother? As I reached the ballroom doors, I heard Natalie's voice ring out behind me. Let's continue, shall we? Where were we? Oh yes, by the power vested in me. The doors closed behind me, muffling the sound of the ceremony resuming. I stood in the elegant hallway, decorated with more roses and twinkling lights, and pulled out my phone. I dialed a number I knew by heart. Eleanor? James Richardson's voice came through immediately. James had been Robert's attorney and mine for 20 years. I thought you'd be at Marcus's wedding right now. I was. I'm not anymore. I kept my voice steady. James, I need you to execute what we discussed. All of it. Immediately. There was a pause. Eleanor, are you sure? Once we do this, there's no going back. Marcus is your son. I'm sure. All right. I'll need about an hour to get everything in motion. The paperwork is already prepared. Thank you, James. I ended the call and stood there for a moment, collecting myself. Then I walked through the Grand Pavilion's ornate lobby and out into the cool evening air. My old Toyota Camry was parked in the back lot. I had driven myself because Marcus had forgotten to arrange transportation for me. I sat in the driver's seat for a moment, not starting the engine, just breathing. Then my phone rang. It was Sarah Chen, my executive assistant at Thornton Industries. Mrs. Thornton, Sarah said, always professional. Mr. Richardson just contacted me with instructions. I'm implementing the personnel changes now. Thank you, Sarah. How long will it take? The system changes will be complete within the hour. The notifications will go out immediately after. Perfect. Mrs. Thornton. Sarah hesitated. For what it's worth, I'm sorry about whatever happened. Mr. Marcus has always spoken highly of you. Has he? I thought. But I just said, thank you, Sarah. That means more than you know. I drove home, not to some mansion or estate, but to my modest 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood. The same house Robert and I had bought 30 years ago when we were just starting out. The same house where we'd raised Marcus, where we'd celebrated birthdays and holidays, where Robert had died peacefully in his sleep 3 years ago. I'd never needed anything bigger or fancier. This was home. Inside, I made myself a cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. I pulled up the financial documents James had sent over earlier in the week, contingency plans we discussed, but that I'd hoped never to use. Now I read them with clinical detachment. Document 1. Employment Termination Notices. Marcus Thornton, removed as VP of Operations, Thornton Industries, effective immediately. Natalie Whitmore Thornton, removed as Director of Marketing, Thornton Industries, effective immediately. Document 2. Property Transfer Cancellation. 1847 Riverside Drive, Marcus's current residence. Sale agreement voided. Property retained by Thornton Family Trust. Document 3. Trust Fund Dissolution. Marcus Thornton's Inheritance Trust. Dissolved. Funds returned to Eleanor Thornton's personal accounts. Document 4. Stock Holdings Redemption. Marcus Thornton's 15% stake in Thornton Industries, purchased back at original value, no premium. My phone buzzed with a text from James. Everything is filed. It's done. The notifications have been sent to all parties. I sipped my tea and looked at the clock. 7:47 p.m. The wedding reception would just be starting, the first dance, the toasts, the cutting of the cake. All of it happening at the Grand Pavilion, a venue I owned through one of my holding companies, though neither Marcus nor Natalie had bothered to research that detail. At 8:15 p.m., my phone started ringing. Marcus's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring. It stopped, then immediately started again. I let it ring again. After the 5th call, I finally answered, "Hello, Marcus." "Mom." His voice was frantic, almost incoherent. "What did you do? What the hell did you do?" "I left your wedding, as requested. I thought you were busy celebrating." Our jobs. Mom, they just came and told us we're fired. Both of us. In the middle of the reception. They said, effective immediately, and that we need to clear our offices by Monday. Yes, that sounds correct. Correct. Mom, you can't just... Wait, what do you mean correct? What are you talking about? I took another sip of tea. Marcus, did you ever wonder who actually owns Thornton Industries? Silence. Your father and I built that company from nothing, I continued calmly. We worked 18-hour days for the first 10 years. We scraped and saved and invested every penny back into the business. And when your father died, he left his shares to me, all of them. But I'm the VP of Operations. You were the VP of Operations, a position I created for you when you graduated from business school, a position you never actually earned. Natalie was the Director of Marketing, another position I created, this time as a favor when you got engaged. Her marketing campaigns lost us $3.2 million last quarter, by the way. I have the reports. You can't do this. I absolutely can. I own 100% of Thornton Industries. I am the company. And I've decided I no longer require your services or those of your wife. Mom, please. There's more, Marcus. The house you're living in? The beautiful 4-bedroom colonial on Riverside Drive. His breathing became ragged. What about it? I own it, through the family trust. The sale to you was meant to be a wedding gift, transferring once you were married. But I've voided that agreement. The property remains mine. You're evicting us? You have 30 days to vacate. That's the standard notice period. I'm not unreasonable. This is insane. You're insane. Just because Natalie. Just because your wife humiliated me at your wedding. Just because my own son stood there and let her do it. Just because neither of you have shown me an ounce of respect or gratitude in over a year. My voice remained calm, but I felt the words like stones. No, Marcus. This isn't about revenge. This is about clarity. This is about showing you the truth you've been blind to. What truth? He was crying now. I could hear it in his voice. That everything you thought you'd built, everything you thought you'd earned, everything you thought made you successful, it was all me. Your job, your house, your lifestyle, your position in society. All of it came from the mother you were ashamed of. The mother who wore a 5-year-old dress to your wedding because I don't need to prove my worth through designer labels. Mom, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Natalie was just stressed. The wedding planning was. Where is Natalie now? She's on the phone with her father. She's crying. Mom, her dad, is furious. He's saying this will humiliate the whole family. He's saying, I don't care what Gregory Whitmore is saying. Do you know why? Why? Because 3 months ago, when the Whitmore hotel chain was facing bankruptcy, do you know who bought out their debt? Who restructured their loans and saved them from going under? Silence. A venture capital firm called Hearthstone Holdings. That's one of my companies, Marcus. I own the paper on every Whitmore property. I saved Gregory's empire, and neither he nor Natalie ever knew it because I don't advertise my business dealings. Oh God. So when Gregory Whitmore calls demanding answers, when he threatens and blusters and tries to use his influence, you can tell him this. His empire exists because I allow it to. And if he'd like to discuss the terms of his loans, I'm happy to arrange a meeting. Mom, please, we made a mistake. A huge mistake. But you can't destroy our entire lives over this. Destroy. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at my quiet street. Marcus, I'm not destroying anything. I'm simply taking back what was always mine. You'll both need to find new jobs. Good luck explaining in interviews why you were terminated immediately following your wedding. You'll need to find a new place to live. You'll need to build your own lives, with your own efforts, without the cushion of Mom's money, Mom's company, and Mom's properties. That's impossible. Do you know how much things cost? Do you know how expensive? Yes, Marcus. I know exactly how much things cost. I've always known. I've just never felt the need to live ostentatiously. Your father and I had $4.7 billion when he died. Do you know what I drive? A Toyota Camry. Do you know where I live? The same house we bought in 1995. Do you know what I wore to your wedding? A dress I bought on sale 5 years ago for $89. 4.7 billion? Billion. With a B. Thornton Industries is worth approximately $2.3 billion. My real estate holdings, stock portfolio, and other investments make up the rest. I could have bought that wedding venue 10 times over. Instead, I rented it for you through a subsidiary because you wanted to get married there. I could hear voices in the background on his end, shouting, Natalie screaming something about lawyers. You might want to tell Natalie that having her father's attorneys contact me would be unwise, I said. Her father owes me $127 million. I can call that loan due at any time. Mom, Marcus's voice broke. I don't know what to say. There's nothing to say. Enjoy the rest of your reception. I paid for it, by the way. The entire wedding, the venue, the catering, the flowers, the orchestra. All of it was charged to my account. Consider it a wedding gift, the last gift I'll be giving you for quite some time. When can we talk about this? When can we fix this? Fix this. Marcus, you stood at that altar and watched your wife humiliate me in front of 200 people. You didn't defend me. You didn't object. You didn't tell her she was wrong. You just stood there, torn between your mother and your social status, and you chose status. I was in shock. I didn't know what. You had a choice, and you made it. Now you get to live with the consequences. Please, Mom? Please, I love you. I'm sorry. I love you too, Marcus. I always will. But love doesn't mean enabling you to treat me with disrespect. Love sometimes means letting you fall so you can learn to stand on your own. How long? His voice was small. How long will this last? That depends entirely on you. When you understand what you've done, when you've built something genuine with your own hands, when you've learned humility, real humility, not the performative kind you've been showing lately, then maybe we can talk. Until then, you and Natalie are on your own. Our credit cards. The corporate cards? Yes, those are canceled. The personal cards I co-signed for. Also canceled. The car I bought you? I'm having it repossessed. The country club membership I've been paying for. Canceled. Your student loans that I've been paying down. You'll start getting those bills directly now. Mom, that's fair, Marcus. That's what the real world looks like for people who don't have a wealthy parent subsidizing their entire existence. I could hear Natalie shouting in the background. Tell her we'll sue. Tell her. You're welcome to try, I said. Every document is airtight. James Richardson doesn't make mistakes. You'll spend whatever money you have left on attorney fees and get nowhere. I have to go, Marcus said, his voice hollow. The wedding planner is here. Something about the venue owner wanting to speak to us. Ah, yes. Since the Grand Pavilion is one of my properties, I've instructed the management to inform you that your reception time has been cut short. You have until 9 p.m. to clear out. That's about 30 minutes from now. You're kicking us out of our own wedding reception. No, I'm enforcing the terms of the venue rental. Your package was for 5 hours. I've reduced it to 3. The contract allows me to do this with proper notice, and I provided that notice an hour ago. This is vindictive. No, Marcus. Vindictive would be canceling the reception entirely and having security escort everyone out immediately. I'm being merciful. You get 30 more minutes to celebrate your marriage. I suggest you make them count. I hung up before he could respond. My phone immediately started ringing again. Marcus, then Natalie, then Gregory Whitmore, then people whose numbers I didn't recognize. I silenced it and set it face down on the table. The truth was, I felt no joy in what I'd done. No satisfaction in the power I'd wielded. I was a mother who just severed ties with her only child, and that hurt more than any insult or humiliation. But I was also a mother who'd spent a year watching her son transform into someone she didn't recognize. Someone who valued appearances over substance. Someone who measured worth in designer labels and social connections. Someone who'd forgotten the values Robert and I had tried to instill. At 9:00 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from the Grand Pavilion's event manager. Reception concluded. Guests escorted out. Mr. and Mrs. Thornton were displeased. I responded, Thank you, Michael. Please send me the final invoice for any damages. Another text, this time from Sarah. Mrs. Thornton, Mr. Marcus, and Mrs. Natalie showed up at Thornton Industries headquarters. Security prevented entry. Their key cards and building access have been revoked per your instructions. Thank you, Sarah. Please ensure all company property is returned. Laptops, phones, any files. Already in progress. I made myself another cup of tea and sat down with a book. A worn paperback mystery I'd been reading before all of this wedding chaos, but I couldn't focus on the words. My phone buzzed constantly throughout the evening, text messages, voicemails, emails. I ignored them all. At 11:30 p.m., there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Marcus standing on my porch, still in his tuxedo. He looked devastated, his hair disheveled, his tie loosened, his eyes red from crying. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. Mom, he said, please, can we talk? Where's your wife? At a hotel. She's not handling this well. Her father is furious. He's cutting her off too, says she humiliated the family. So you're only here because you have nowhere else to go? No, I mean, yes, but also no. Mom, I'm here because I owe you an apology. A real one. I crossed my arms. Go on. What Natalie did today was unforgivable. What I did, standing there and letting it happen, was worse. You're my mother. You've given me everything. And I treated you like you were an embarrassment instead of the reason I had anything to be proud of in the first place. And, and, and I think I lost myself somewhere. Natalie's world, her friends, the social scene, it felt so important. It felt like that was what success looked like. But watching it all fall apart tonight, watching people scatter when they realized we were nobody without your money, it was clarifying. I studied my son's face. He looked younger somehow, more like the boy I'd raised before ambition and social climbing had hardened him. "Come in," I said finally, stepping aside. He walked into the house he'd grown up in, the house he'd stopped visiting over the past year because it wasn't impressive enough for Natalie. He stood in the living room, looking around at the comfortable furniture, the family photos on the walls, the life he'd left behind. "I forgot how nice this place is," he said softly. "How? Real." "Sit down, Marcus." We sat across from each other, and for the first time in a year, we really talked. Not about business or social events or wedding planning. We talked about his father, about the values we tried to teach him, about how he'd lost his way. "I don't know if Natalie and I will make it through this," he admitted. "When everything fell apart tonight, she blamed you. She said you were petty and vindictive and that we'd be fine without you. But I saw her face when her father told her he was cutting her off too. She looked at me like I was suddenly worthless. What do you think?" I think I married someone who loved what I could give her more than who I actually am. And I think I let myself become someone who valued the same things. What are you going to do now?" "I don't know. Find a job. A real job that I earn on my own merit. Find a place to live that I can actually afford. Figure out who I am without all the props you provided. And Natalie?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I need to see who she is when the props are gone too. Maybe we'll grow from this. Maybe we won't. But I can't build a marriage on the foundation we had." I nodded. "That's the wisest thing you've said in a year." "Mom." He looked at me with those same eyes that used to look up at me when he was a little boy. "Is there any chance at all that you'll forgive me? That we can rebuild this?" "Marcus, I never stopped loving you. Not for a second. But love doesn't mean rescuing you from consequences. It means trusting you to learn from them. So this is permanent. Everything you did today. The job terminations? Yes, you can't just walk back into a company you didn't value. The house? That depends. The trust fund? That depends on many things. But most importantly, our relationship, that depends on you. On real changes, real growth, real understanding of what you did and why it was wrong." "How do I prove that?" "You don't prove it to me, Marcus. You prove it to yourself. You build a life that you're proud of, with or without my money. You become the man your father and I raised you to be. And if you do that, if you genuinely find your way back to those values, then we'll talk about the rest." He nodded slowly, wiping at his eyes. "Can I ask you one thing?" "What?" "The dress you wore tonight. Was it really from 5 years ago?" 6 years, actually. I'd bought it for your college graduation." "Why? Why do you live like this when you have billions?" I smiled. "Because, sweetheart, I learned a long time ago that wealth is a tool, not an identity. Your father and I built our fortune so we have security, so we could help others, so we could make a difference. Not so we could impress people at parties or compete in some endless social race. The happiest I've ever been wasn't at some gala or resort. It was in this house, with your father raising you. That's real wealth." Marcus looked around the living room again, really seeing it this time. "I forgot that. I forgot all. Oh, I know." He stood up. "I should go. I don't want to impose." "Marcus." I stood too. "You can stay in your old room tonight. Just tonight. Tomorrow, you start figuring out your own path." His face crumpled with relief and gratitude. "Thank you, Mom." There are clean sheets in the hallway closet. Same place they've always been. As he headed upstairs, I heard him pause on the landing. Mom, I really am sorry. For all of it. I know, sweetheart. Now get some sleep. I stayed up for another hour, thinking about the day, about the decisions I'd made, about the road ahead. My phone had finally stopped buzzing. Presumably everyone had gotten the message that I wasn't going to respond tonight. The last text I looked at before bed was from James Richardson. Eleanor, you did the right thing. Robert would be proud. I hoped that was true. I hoped that someday, Marcus would understand that the greatest gift I'd given him today wasn't the wedding or the job or the house. It was the chance to find out who he really was without the safety net. And maybe, just maybe, he'd discover that the person he was becoming was someone worth being. I turned off the lights and headed to bed, passing Marcus's old room. The door was slightly ajar, and I could see him sitting on the edge of his childhood bed, still in his tuxedo, staring at the walls covered with posters and memories from a simpler time. Tomorrow would be difficult. The next weeks and months would be even harder. But for the first time in a year, I felt like my son might actually find his way back home. Not to this house, but to himself. And that was worth everything.